Good morning, Cairns, and welcome everyone wherever you are. And welcome to our presentation called Future Earth Coasts Global Assessment Initiative. I am Schulz, and I'm giving this presentation on behalf of Anja Scheffers, Tim Smith, Donald Forms, and Kim Crockett. We are all affiliated with Future Earth Coasts, and Future Earth Coasts is a global initiative to support sustainability and adaptation to global change in the coastal zone. It is one of the core projects of Future Earth, providing knowledge and support to accelerate transformations to a sustainable world. It is the renamed Land-Ocean Interactions in the Coastal Zone project that many of you might be familiar with, which has gathered experience over the last 25 years. And Future Earth Coasts is meant to support transformation to a sustainable and resilient future for society and nature at the coast by facilitating innovative, integrated and impactful knowledge mobilization. To do that, we have 3 linked themes that are connected by a transdisciplinary approach. These themes are dynamic coasts, pathways to coastal sustainability, and human development and coasts. And one of these transdisciplinary approaches are so-called coastal assessments or coastal circles of sustainability, or CCS. These are expert-led rapid assessments of state of coasts in various regions. There have been many previous assessment frameworks that have been widely used in the past. You might be familiar with the Planetary Boundaries Framework or the Ocean Health Index or Circle of Sustainability. So what the Coastal Circles of Sustainability Framework did was to try to overcome some of the limitations of these previous assessment frameworks. For instance, suboptimal applicability in coastal areas. So a colleague of ours, Natalia de Alensar, in 2020, she developed the Coastal Circles of Sustainability, which is modeled on the Circle of Sustainability framework. It has 4 domains: governance and politics, environment and ecology, economics, and social and cultural. And each of these 4 domains comprises 5 categories each. Within these categories, we have furthermore subcategories, and while domains and categories are fixed for each global coastal assessment, the subcategories are flexible. Let's have a look at one of our case studies. So this is the Arctic case study. It is spearheaded by Kim Crockett and Donald Forbes, and it takes place in Canada in the northern Nunavut territory, and particularly in the Qikiqtarjuq region, which is shown here by the red square. This region has particular characteristics. For instance, the ground is widespread frozen, so that's what we would refer to as permafrost, and there is sea ice for most of the year. And those communities comprise of small and remote isolated communities, of the majority being indigenous. This is a close-up of the study area. It is the easternmost and largest of the 3 administrative regions in Nunavut, comprising about 1 million square kilometers in area. The total population is only about 20,000 inhabitants. 80% of them are Inuit, and hence the population density is relatively small, with only 0.02 per square kilometer on average. However, obviously in settlements, these population densities are higher. Shown here on the map with the green circles are the 13 municipalities or communities, with the smallest having only about 170 inhabitants and the largest down here up to more than 7,500. These 4 images give you an idea on the beauty of this landscape, comprising vast mountain ranges, diverse seascapes and landscapes, and very importantly ice as a very important shaping factor, in particular sea ice. These are 4 examples of representative communities. In brackets we have here the population sizes shown, and it is important to mention that these small, remote, isolated communities, they are not connected by roads, so the only means of transport and exchange between these communities is by sea, and most of the year by sea ice. These communities are mixed wage subsistence economies. Country food or traditionally hunted and gathered sea resources are a very important component of the diet. So safety and access to changing sea ice is of major concern. Shown here on the left is the outcome of the Coastal Circle of Sustainability assessment, and you see that there are 4 categories in the economics, environment, social and cultural domains that stick out, indicating that there are some issues. So if we have a closer look at these categories, as I said, we have the 4 domains and 5 categories that are fixed in each domain. Within each category, we then have further subcategories. In total, we had 95 indicators or subcategories, meaning that for each category we had about 4 to 5 subcategories. The colors in each kind of pie wedge in each category, they denote the score of each category, so or the mean score, ranging from excellent, shown in blue, to poor in orange and bad, shown in red. And then furthermore we have these dashed red lines, and these indicate the maximum score that was attributed to a subcategory in each category. And you can clearly see that we have these 4 orange categories that scored only poorly, that we will have a closer look in the next slides. So first up is the marine forcing category, and it was the sea ice subcategory within there that scored basically very badly with a score of 5. Next up was the social well-being category, and it was in there the health subcategory and the food security subcategory, which were of major concern. Next up was the social resilience category, and it was coping capacity and education, with education barriers and literacy identified as potential issues in this category. And last but not least, in the infrastructure category, it was housing, in particular the availability of housing, the quality of housing and the affordability of housing, which was identified problematic. So what we can do is not only just look at these individual categories and subcategories, but we can also do a interlinkage analysis and look for potential feedbacks. For instance, if we start with global environmental change, that obviously has impacts on future sea ice extent, and hence also on ecological services that can be provided. That furthermore kind of directly impacts the safety of communities and hence coping capacity, and as well as food availability or access to food, and that also involves then health. Since these communities are highly dependent on coastal resources, This interlinkage of sea ice with all the other categories and subcategories clearly is a feedback loop that can reinforce certain categories, basically starting with sea ice. As a summary, in the CCS framework, maximum scores provide insight on opportunities for effective intervention, for instance, mitigating sea ice or having management strategies for sea ice safety and security will be very important as it feeds back also to other categories. Hence, additional insights can be found within interlinkage and feedback analysis. And in the CCS framework, there are standardized domains and standardized categories, but the subcategories are unique to each study region to allow for flexibility. So it's basically a trade-off between comparability and flexibility. There are future plans to have more case studies to compare results and fine-tune methodologies. And we have already identified hotspots, and those include next to the Arctic, small islands, coastal megacities, and deltas and estuaries. And with that, I thank you and take any questions.